Hey guys, welcome back to America's Worst Podcast. I'm Austin Q. Today we have Mr. Jerry Porter. Thanks again for joining me, Mr. Porter. Mr. Porter here is the owner of Warriors Guild Martial Arts in Casa Grande, Arizona. He's been doing it since 2001, and right now you're at your third belt, or third red tab, if I'm correct? Or?
Yeah, third degree black belt in Kenpo, blue 4 stripes, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. All right, so he's been around.
Catch wrestling, kickboxing.
Catch wrestling, all of it. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the upcoming fight between Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, and Conor McGregor, the martial artist, mixed martial artist. And Jerry, coming from your background, you started off boxing before you went into any other kind of system. How did it go for you? Were you just like, you just wanted to do boxing first? Did you see any other martial arts out there?
My dad had taught me boxing and wrestling as a kid, just small smoker stuff, backyard. But truthfully, I had beat most martial artists. We moved around a lot. I was never the smallest kid in class. I always like second smallest kid in class, and was pretty scrappy. And boxing and wrestling, and saw me through pretty much every altercation. And so for a long time, I was like, that stuff don't work. That Asian martial art, like I was really down on them. And then it wasn't until my early 20s that I began to kind of branch out, get into Kenpo, and the same school taught Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then.
Now,
ever since then, I've been training.
Coming from that boxing background, did you already have that set stance, that set basic, way of moving and flowing, as opposed to jumping into Kenpo?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the only one that really gave me a hard time when I started Kenpo were the higher belts. Some of the brown, maybe a few of the, it goes green, brown, black in Kenpo, and so few of the green, but mostly the brown and black belts were the only one. Everyone else, they had more of a karate style base even in their kickboxing, and so I would jam in really close and get inside their kicks and just working with my hands, truthfully.
All right. So this whole debate that's been going on, MMA versus boxing, everyone's saying that an MMA guy can't box. Everyone's saying that it's different, a complete different level. Is there really a difference in striking between MMA and boxing?
They use the same punches, but they use them in a different way. Most MMA fighters, especially with a karate base, and I'm not exactly sure Conor McGregor's background, but I know he controls distance very well. His distance control, I think, has led to almost all of his victories. Hard for wrestlers to close with. Even guys that are good striker, he maintains his distance that he wants to strike from. And so even though they're using the same punches, the distance between the two are different. A lot of boxers like to really get into the pocket and fight from the pocket, whereas most martial artists will be just outside of your reach, make you miss, and then come back in and capitalize on that.
So if you had to give us a brief breakdown of what you think is going to happen, maybe choreographed a little bit, what do you like? So let's say that I'm Mayweather, right? And Mayweather, he plays a lot of...
Yeah, now he's going to be orthodox, so he's going to be left side forward. Conor McGregor tends to fight southpaw more. I think that's going to throw McGregor off a little bit, truthfully. He's going to have been training for it and so forth, but even in some of his past fights, I think that's going to be one of the differences that's coming from.
So what does McGregor have to do against Mayweather?
I think, truthfully, it's going to sort of depend on how Mayweather fights. Mayweather likes, one of the differences and one of his successes is that unlike a lot of boxers, like if you see Mike Tyson had a peekaboo style, he would come in really close and fight within the pocket. He was knocking guys out from the pocket. But Mayweather's more of a point fighter. He tends to stay back, maintain his distance. So you have two guys that are really manipulating, controlling the distance, and it's just, in my opinion, it's going to be who's better at it. Who can close the distance faster when they need to attack, and who can maintain that distance for defense. And that's really, like I said, with Mayweather, he was a distance fighter going against everybody who fights in the pocket, basically, and was able to kind of pick them apart. And so a lot of times people knock his style, but,
but it's yeah,
49 no, yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think Mayweather is going to experience anything new that he hasn't seen before? Do you think there really is that magic kind of that comes from MMA, of like a different angle,
I for sure think it will be. I've had boxers that have come in here, pro boxers that have come into my school and trained with me, and I'll usually go just hands with them, because especially if they were doing some of the Kenpo rules we do, kick to the groin and sweep the legs down and punch on the ground and things like that. Same thing with our MMA sparring, but our kickboxing normally even goes to the legs, and a lot of those guys just eat kicks. They don't know, they're not used to blocking kicks, and so if you're kicking them in the legs, it's a lot harder. Someone would eat it and then try to move in on you and so forth, but I usually just go hands with them. But even just the different angles that I would come and the distance that I would try to maintain was different for them. And so it usually gave them a pretty difficult time adjusting to...
So there's definitely a difference.
In my experience, yes.
I think that Conor is prepared. Do you think he's the type of fighter that's done his homework, knows what he's getting into, knows where he needs to keep the distance, studied Floyd, knows his defense, knows what he's doing?
I definitely do. I think also he's a different beast. You're talking about a young guy who's hungry, and he's hungry in a non-traditional sense. What I mean is most guys go through something, they get their title, then they sit on their title and defend it. He's won a couple titles and hasn't defended. He's got that title, and now he's looking over there and he wants that title, and he's looking over there and he wants that title. So he's hungry in a different way than I've seen other fighters be hungry before. Some of it may be for the payday, but some of it wants to be, I think he wants to prove himself at different weight classes, at different sports. He's competed in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu matches. He's went outside of his comfort zone and his level all across his career. And I think he has a different hungry. Same thing with Floyd. Floyd right now, I don't know really his reasoning behind it, except for the money day and the payday, and it can be a big show for it. In his mind, probably an easy fight because he's got a guy coming in that's not his sport, something that he's dominated for years, and thinking, oh, well, I've been doing this for so long. But you've got a guy, I'm in my 40s now, and I can tell you I see stuff that I can't react to anymore on the ground and in stand-up, just because my timing isn't there as quick anymore, my rhythm, my just the openings, I can't respond to them as quickly as I would have, say, in my 20s or even early 30s. It's just, I'm still decent, give most guys a run, but it does slow you in your 40s. And so I think that's going to be a factor. Conor McGregor's speed's going to be a factor.
Who's faster right now?
Right now, I believe McGregor is.
McGregor's faster?
Yeah, Mayweather's fast, don't get me wrong. He is really quick, but I would give the physical speed and reach and power to McGregor.
Now that's strange because a lot of people say boxers have more power because for every mixed martial artist, when a mixed martial artist focuses on grappling or kicking, the boxer's just focusing on punching. Now what can you say about that?
Yes, he probably has, for his size, he's probably a very powerful puncher.
For Mayweather.
But Mayweather, hasn't knocked anyone out in years, and truthfully, I'm wondering if that's why he wanted to go to 8-ounce gloves, to possibly have a better chance of knocking someone out. The downside is you now put Conor McGregor in 8-ounce gloves instead of 10. You're blocking less of your face with a slightly smaller glove. Now, I don't think that was necessarily
another thing I'd like to ask. Now, we all know that Floyd's going to be covering up a lot, probably in this fight. Can McGregor just power through, punch as hard as he can, and get through those gloves?
I think that's why he's predicting the 4th round knockout. Again, he has nothing to lose. So he has, it can be one of two things. It's either going to be a boring fight with 2-point fighters playing the distance, and Mayweather, in my opinion, would probably win that game. Or he's going to have to manipulate the distance, cut the angles, move inside, but not, like I said, he's not going to be moving in to the pocket straight like most boxers would. But he's got nothing to lose. He's got, if he can knock him out within 4 rounds, he doesn't want to take this to a decision. If it goes to the decision, I'm pretty sure he believes even that he'll probably get outpointed on it. And so he's got nothing to lose to power him, pressure him, push him in those first 4 rounds and make it his fight. And if nothing else, make McGregor so tired, or make Mayweather so tired in those first 4 rounds that even he's slowed down a notch. So if it does become a point fighting issue, I'd probably even have to give the edge to Conor right now, and then he's been a lot more active over the last couple years, and plus training for this one as well.
All right. What technique do you think Conor's going to bring to the table that's really going to help him? Is it like the Superman punch? Is it his left? Do you think he just really needs to rely on his left? Or
I think if he knocks him out, it'll be the left. I'm not sure that they said that the Superman punch was legal for this one, and that's really good for a retreating opponent. And not only that, it closes distance really fast. I remember the first time I had ever saw it. I came from strictly like I said, pretty much as far as my striking, a boxing background. And one of my training partners was the U.S. U.S. Muay Thai amateur champion. And he hit me with a Superman punch, and I had no clue what it was coming from a boxing background. And it dazed me, like during the match, and we were just sparring. And afterwards, I was like, what the hell did you hit me with? And he was like, oh, it's a Superman punch. And I had never even seen it before, you know. And so I wouldn't doubt that he now, you know, Mayweather knows what it is. But there's a difference between having someone throw that at you and using it fairly often.
If you miss, you're going to be missing for a while, because you're going to be out there for a second, right? And then that'll give Mayweather time to counter it.
Again, only if you're used to that punch coming at you. Like I said, if it's hitting you out of the blue and he hasn't been training for it, it is a different style punch to get the rhythm on, and it's very committed. It has your whole weight behind it, and you know, the guy I happened to be going with was about 205 at the time. And now they're a little closer in weight, but it has such a drive through. Like even if I couldn't reach you with a traditional jab or cross, when that's coming up, it's shooting through the target even further than what your pivot in most cases is.
So that'll give you that few inches of reach, as opposed to a different, like a traditional punch. So if Mayweather, if he's standing there defensively and you're throwing a regular punch, you know, he can bend down. However, if you do a Superman punch,
it's going to be able to fall further. It's going to affect that range and distance. And again, it's going to be stuff that he hasn't seen as much. And so it's harder to prepare for it. It's harder to counter it. If he even is, because truthfully, a lot of times guys get so set in their method. What I've worked 49 times. Why do I need to change this? Why should I? I've got a guy coming in, and so it really sort of comes down to how he's prepared for some of that as well. But the speed, precision, accuracy of McGregor so far has won most of his MMA stuff, and I think he'll be able to still bring those attributes into the boxing. He's way underrated right now, and on paper, I think a lot of it's just coming from bias. Like people say, oh, well, you can't go into another sport where somebody's owned it and ruled it. Well, GSP was a karate black belt, and you know, off of sort of a kickboxing base, started getting into jiu-jitsu, actually kind of similar coming up through, and he has the best takedown. He had the best takedowns in the UFC, the best takedown defense in the UFC. Got invited to the Canadian Olympic team for his wrestling. And a guy that never wrestled in junior high, high school, college, and was able, through his MMA training, to achieve that level of wrestling. And in my opinion, wrestling's much harder of a sport to get that level of. You're dealing with just two hands now that you have to train. You don't have to train takedown sprawls, riding, escapes, you know, just that, you know, the whole, there's so many holds.
Another thing that people are saying is that Conor won't be able to take the body shots. But Conor says he gets kicked in the side, he's getting elbowed, he's getting kneed. Isn't a knee or an elbow or a kick a little bit tougher than taking a punch?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think, and I think his hands are so gone, not that he won't outpoint him to the body. I just don't know that he's going to damage him to the body. I don't see it happening.
2 more questions. Do you think MMA fighters should back up McGregor? Do you think all MMA fighters should be backing up McGregor? Because do you think he is a symbol of MMA?
He is somewhat of a symbol of MMA right now, and he's the pay ticket. Like really everything, some of the other divisions are not necessarily weak, but they're weaker than in some of the past history. So he is kind of carrying a big card with him right now. In a certain extent, I'll be honest, I used to know pretty much every boxing champion of almost every weight class. I couldn't tell you who's what, where, when right now. And to a certain extent, he's brought a lot of notoriety to boxing by doing it. People coming back in, people looking at it, people getting reinvested in it. So he's actually done a lot for boxing. In one sense, he could put a nail in its coffin. In another sense, he's kind of rejuvenated it at the same time. In that, for years, you know, truthfully I can't remember. You know, I've bought in the last several years a lot of the UFCs. I can't remember the last time I paid for a full boxing card. I may have went and, you know, watched it somewhere while it was on, or, you know, at Buffalo Wild Wings or something, you know, or what have you.
But UFC cards, you're gonna watch it. Every fight's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then last question: how's the fight gonna go? Mayweather McGregor. What's
I think his prediction's pretty spot on how I see it. I think he's gonna press the action relatively early. He's got to be careful. Mayweather, that's the catch-22 of this. You're either going to get a point fighting where it's out, or McGregor having to charge him within that first 4 rounds moving in on him. And Mayweather's expecting that. And he's had very good boxers press that same issue and try to get in close and do the same thing. So he's very good at maintaining his distance. I think the angles, like I said, are going to play a key to it, how he moves in to get to the pocket, because you can't knock him out from a distance. He's going to have to close the gap at some point, you know, to lay hands on him. And I think his prediction is pretty much what he's going for, and I see it happen by that. Actually, I think even before that.
Okay. All right, well, Mr. Porter, is there anything you'd like to let our viewers know that we haven't covered about MMA and boxing?
No, just they are 2 separate animals. Similar punches, same exact, you know, everybody uses the jab, cross, uppercut, hook, overhands. It's how they're using those punches that are going to be a little different. He is coming into his game, and so that's why the high money, you know, the high odd favorite is on Mayweather right now. But again, you're looking at a fighter past his prime, you know, like I said, heading into the 40s and that, and with a lot of the physical attributes, I'm still giving McGregor the edge on this one.
All right. Mr. Porter, thanks again for joining me. Appreciate it. Again, this is America's Worst Podcast. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time.